Hello, everybody, and welcome to Results Mastery live stream. My name is Steve Mills, and it's great to be here. I thank you for being here, and just wanted to let you know that I'm now streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I'm also on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, and about 30 other forms of media. So, you know, one thing I would say, it's fantastic that people like myself can do that. I'm pretty much out there, and I've been for now 31 years helping small businesses to become more successful without necessarily spending a fortune on marketing, but putting lots of effort into marketing their business. However, today I'm talking about something other than marketing. I'm talking about possibly my second favorite subject, apart from my football team, obviously, and that is sales. I'm here to talk to you about conversion, as I like to call it. It's all very well being really good at creating leads. If you're not creating conversion, if you're not converting those leads, in other words, then, you know, it's just a load of work, isn't it? So, you know, the old saying is that in terms of leads, there's several things to consider. Firstly is the number of leads that you get. Secondly is the quality of the leads that you get. Thirdly is the value of the leads that you get. And fourthly is the lifetime value of those leads. So there are several things that come into effect here that are really, really important in terms of lead conversion. However, let's talk specifically about the number of leads that you're currently converting, because this is like base camp. This is where you start from. If you're going to do better, you need to know where you are. You know, the old saying that, you know, you can't get from A to B until you know where A is really, really true. And one of the biggest beliefs that I've held pretty much all my career is that testing and measuring are the two most important parts of sales and marketing, and to be honest, most things in life. You know, you take someone like I don't know, yesterday, when recording this on the Monday following the final of Wimbledon, and you know, we know that I don't know, a particular player is serving his second serve an average of 125 miles an hour, and his first serve is way up into the 130 miles an hour. You know, that's great news, and they know where they are. But if they want to try and get that extra edge, that extra 5 miles an hour out of their serve, and they're going to practice and change and measure and just do something a little bit different in order to improve the performance, or maybe the accuracy or the speed or the consistency of their serve, then they need to know their current numbers. Without that, you try and change things, you don't know whether it's really working any better or not. Certainly as far as speed is concerned, you know, is it going 130 or 135? You know, the human eye can't tell that. We need the equipment. And so that is, I believe, with business. We've now got the equipment to know how many people have visited your website, to know how many inquiries came from LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. So two numbers I want you to go away and work at are the number of inquiries that you get. How many inquiries do you get into your business, or did you get into your business last month? What's that number look like? Secondly, what percentage did you convert? Right, this really, really important, because this is probably one of the biggest opportunities that you've got for improving your lead conversion rate. In other words, converting more of those meetings into sales. Firstly, we need to know what the numbers are. I'm going to give you a suggested low number. and then we're going to work out what we can do in order to improve that number. Let's say you get 10 leads. It doesn't matter whether that's 10 leads a day, a week, a month, or a year, dependent on, you know, how much you're selling. or the volume of you know, what you sell. If you're selling stuff for 10 million pounds and you get 10 leads per year and you convert 2 of those into sales, you know, you're doing okay, probably, in terms of you know, your you know, certainly the sales volume that you created. But let's just use an example of 2 out of 10. Okay. Now, here's the key. If you can improve that conversion rate from 2 out of 10 to 4 out of 10, right? That's a 20% increase. You with me? So 2 out of 10 is 20%. 4 out of 10 is 40%. That's an improvement of 20% more. However, when it comes to the impact on your business, it's not 20%, it's 100%. It's 100% growth in your business over time, not overnight, because it's only 1 sale or 2 sales that you've made this day, week, or month. But over time, that thing alone will double your business. Now, if you're already hitting 4 out of 10 and you want to get another 20% improvement up to 6 out of 10, which is again only 20%, that'll grow your business by 50%, because 60% is 50% more than 40%. Excuse me. I hope this is making sense, because it really is about understanding the numbers. So once you understand those numbers, the next thing that you need to think about is, what are you going to do to improve the numbers? Because, you know, if you keep doing the same thing, you're probably going to get the same result. I think it was Einstein that once said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different result. So we need to do something different. The question is what? And the first thing we need to know is, well, what are we doing? Because if you're just what I'd call winging it, you don't have any sales system in place. You just, you know, an inquiry comes in and you phone them back, or you deal with the inquiry over the phone, and then you send them an email. And then, you know, if they don't respond, you'll maybe send them another email and pick up the phone again, and so on. And it's all a little bit slapdash. It's all a little bit, you know, when I've got time, it's all a little bit unregulated. Then, you know, the result that you're going to get is probably the same or a similar result to the one that you're currently getting, which is either the 20% or the 40%, or even if you're getting 60%, wouldn't it be great to get to 80%? That's going to make a vast difference to your business. So the first thing we need to work on is the development of a system. And I'm going to suggest to you that that system should have at least 12 steps. Why is that? Well, we've probably heard many, many times that it takes X amount of contacts to make a sale. I've heard 8, I've heard 10, I've heard 12, and I'm here to tell you, I've no idea what it is. Not really. And I don't think anybody does. My belief is that most people give up before they ever get to whatever that number is. And the truth of the matter is, again, it depends on the quality of those calls, doesn't it? You know, those contacts. If you're meeting somebody, that's obviously a lot better quality contact than it would be sending somebody a WhatsApp. So it does depend on that. But my belief, as I've said, is people don't do enough. So we've got to think about what that's going to be. There's another saying that we need to contact people on 4 different media in order to get them to know, like, and trust us. You know, somebody that you connect to on LinkedIn, if they stay on LinkedIn, that's great, but it would be better to bring them off LinkedIn into other things. So I can't sit here and tell you what media you should be using, but I'm thinking around things like, you know, LinkedIn definitely could be somewhere. You know, somebody could come to my website and make an inquiry, and then I could connect to them on LinkedIn. I'd certainly go and look at them on LinkedIn and see who they are. I might check them out on Facebook or X or Instagram or wherever. You know, I'm doing some research, I'm connecting to people, and I'm building my their knowledge of me. That's ultimately what I want to do. I want them to feel as though they can know me, like me, trust me. I can also do things like I can email them a load of testimonials. I've got a little report that I put together called Don't Take My Word for It, which contains over 140 testimonials from satisfied clients. So you could do something like that yourself. You could send them a video. You know, a welcome video. You could do a welcome video going, hi Fred, Steve Mills here. Thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. I got your inquiry the other day, and I thought, sorry, I haven't managed to get in touch with you till now, but I thought I'd send you a quick video. I'm going to give you a call this afternoon. I hope that's okay. So, you know, that's another way of doing it. Now, I will tell you that that's not perfect. What wasn't perfect about that? It was the time difference. So one thing that I think is really important is speed. Speed stuns. I heard that many years ago, and it's still as true today as it ever was. And my belief is that that first contact should pretty much always be on the phone. Yeah, pick up the phone and call people. Convert that into a meeting. Convert that meeting into a sale. So, you know, think about the different things. We've got what? We've got video, we've got events like this one. You could invite them to a live stream or a physical event. You could send them emails. You could message them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. You could send them a WhatsApp. You could send them an SMS. And you can pick up the phone. You could even go and tell them that you're going to this event and invite them to attend it so that you can meet them there. So there's loads of ways that you can do that. What we then need to do is once we've got this sales system in place where we're going to nurture people along the way, we got to test it, haven't we? You know, test and measure. Is that the best way? I just said to you, it's important to call people first. And that's a fundamental belief I've got. But how do I know that? It might be better to send them a video first because they're not quite ready to speak to me. But having listened to my video, they're now thinking, oh, that's Steve Mills. Clearly knows his stuff. You know, that's what I hope. But at the moment, they might not be there. We're to quote Jordan Belfont, we're moving them along the straight line. He says you need to keep people on a straight line from A to B and then move them along that straight line. And I think that's a really good example of the importance of a sales system. We then need to become better at selling individually. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you did any sales training? If you're like 95% of the salespeople, people responsible for selling, business owners, small business owners, if you're like 95% of those, the answer is you haven't done any sales training for over a year. Some people haven't done any sales training ever. You know, and that just blows my mind. I've got to say, I just think it's just ridiculous. Would you really employ somebody who to work for you, pay them good money, who haven't even been bothered to do any sales training. You know, that's just ludicrous. I train myself every day in sales, every day, not some days, every day. And do you know what? It's incredibly important. Repetition. It's like, you know, if you want to be good at tennis, I'll use tennis again. You want to be good at tennis, you got to pretty much play at least 4 or 5 times a week, you know, to practice, you know, for a good few hours. If you're going to get from, you know, being a mediocre player to a top class player, let alone about what you've got to do to get to be, you know, truly world class. But if you want to raise your game, if you want to do better, you've got to become better at selling. Now, you can do that in so many different ways now. You know, you can do that on YouTube. You can do that through books. You can do that through Audible. You can attend events. You can come to events like this one. You can get a coach, get an advisor. You can attend my results mastery training if you would like to. There are loads and loads of different ways that you can grow your business. And there are loads of ways that in doing so, you can become better, or should I say, to do so, you could become better at selling and marketing what you do. So get some training, do it consistently. Nothing worse than going on a training course and then 3 months later, you've forgotten what it was that you learned. So we need to have repetition of a skill. It's like hammering it in to you, so that when somebody says to you, you know, I'm not really sure, let me think about it, you know exactly what to say. When somebody says, well, I'd love to, Steve, but I don't have the budget, you know exactly what to say, and so on and so forth. So that's it, really. They're the main things I wanted to talk about. Get that system in place, get that training in place, have written procedures. When I say a system, I don't mean that one in here. You've got a system, whether you think you have or not. It's just probably not a very good one. So get it written down, get your people trained in it, train yourself in it, become truly outstanding, have a system for winning business from referral. What about that for a concept? You know, most people don't. Train your team in how to ask for a referral. How do they do that? How could they do that even better? If they do it now, which they probably don't, but if they did, how could that then be improved so that it creates more business from word of mouth? Great questions for you to consider. So that's it for now. Thank you ever so much for listening. If you do want to find out more about me, what I do, and how I've been helping over 10,000 businesses now I've helped in the last 31 years. They're people who've been on my workshops, the people I've consulted with on a one-to-one basis, the people I've advised, and so on. And I've helped them to achieve an average of 45% growth within 12 months. That's not BS, that's absolutely true. Not all of them. Some of them have come along to my workshops, gone away and done absolutely diddly squat, and they haven't produced any results. So the overall average results are certainly higher than the 45% that I just mentioned, if you take out all the people who didn't do anything. So yeah, get yourself signed up. It'd be great to meet you, find out a little bit more about your business. To do that, go to my website, which you can see scrolling along the bottom. If you're listening on Audible or on iTunes, then the website to go to is results-mastery.com. That's results-mastery.com. Thank you ever so much, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. I do these, by the way, twice a week, so feel free to hop on to any one of them And if you want to find out about the other events that I'm running, go to my website again and click on events. So